Hello, my name is Jeremy with Faithful Guardian Training Center. Today we're going to be talking about the obstetrics gynecology chapters. So concepts we're going to talk about right now is going to be a uterine rupture versus placenta abruptio. Both of them are very dangerous, and they are both typically found during the pregnant mother's late second, and third trimesters. Both are going to present with a tearing sensation along the belly. Both are going to present with typically dark red vaginal bleeding, and both are going to be very, very painful and very, very life-threatening for both the mother and the fetus. Uterine rupture is one of the least common, and you're really going to see it predominantly during two instances. The first instance is going to be during childbirth, and this is going to happen literally as she is delivering the baby. What can happen is if the mother has had a previous C-section, what can happen is along that C-section scar on the uterus will actually tear. And this can be a partial tear, a complete tear. And what this is going to do is could cause the amniotic sac or the amniotic fluid to leak out if it hasn't ruptured yet. And what this would cause is the uterine wall to collapse in on the fetus. So if you were to palpate the mother's belly, what you would be able to feel is you would actually be able to feel and palpate fetal body parts, whether that be the head, the feet, the legs, the body. Instead of feeling a firm belly, firm rounded belly, what you would feel is you would feel a soft abdomen that had these bony processes in it that mimic the fetus's outline and where it's at. Again, this can happen along the C-section scar during delivery, and what's going to happen is the mother is going to attempt to push, and then the head may come out. It may not, but if the head does come out and the uterus ruptures, the mother is going to feel that tearing sensation, and then she is going to have an inability to push. And that inability to push is due to the uterus as a muscle not being able to contract and try to push out the fetus anymore. If the fetus's head was attempting to be delivered, you're going to have something called the turtling sign, where the fetus's head is actually going to end up coming back into the vagina due to the slackening of the muscles. The second instance when this will occur is typically going to be due to penetrating trauma or trauma in general. And that penetrating trauma, if it happens to a pregnant woman in that late second, third trimester, what can happen is the uterus will actually get ruptured, whether it be to a knife, gunshot, any number of things. And what can happen is the amniotic sac ruptures, the muscle has broken, and what this is going to do is it's going to cause the muscle to collapse in on itself. And if it collapses in on itself, it's going to collapse on the fetus, and this can have this is typically going to result in a miscarriage of the fetus by the mother. And you can also have this with shearing type injuries, but that is a whole lot less common. Going to placenta abruptio, placenta abruption, abruptio placenta. There's a couple different names for it that you'll see floating around. That, again, is going to typically have dark red vaginal bleeding, but it can be bright red, but typically it's going to be dark. It is going to be very, very painful. You're going to have a tearing sensation in the abdomen. And what happens is you actually have the placenta detaches from the roof of the uterus. There's two main causes to this. One is going to be hypertension. And so if you can imagine a firefighter hose or a garden hose that were to be coming under too much pressure, that's essentially what the vessels are that connect your placenta to your uterine wall. They are essentially hoses, and if those hoses get under too much pressure, they can break, and whenever one breaks, the rest of them break. And that is where that tearing sensation comes from, as the placenta is going to detach as the vessels rupture across the placenta and the uterine membrane. Now, another part that can happen with this is you'll see this as a shearing type injury in car crashes, the deceleration. So what you'll see is the placenta will continue forward as the body becomes stationary, and this is going to again cause that tearing sensation with that bright red or dark red vaginal bleeding. But the big difference between a uterine rupture and the placenta abruptio is, in the placenta abruptio, whenever you go to palpate the woman's belly, you will still feel that firm, distended belly, just like you would expect to feel in a pregnant woman. Both of these patients are going to present with profound shock. They're going to be hypovolemic, and they are going to need rapid fluid resuscitation, and they're going to need to get to an OR as soon as possible. So take them to the closest appropriate facility, trauma facility if it's available, and that way they can get these sorted out. And that is the big difference between abruptio placenta and a uterine rupture.